This is Mike Banner, and welcome to the next telecast of the 62 Who Knew podcast, the podcast that wants you to have the last 30 years of your life be the best 30 years of your life. And today we welcome three of our favorite panelists, Mr. Matt McCann, president and founder of LTC News, the number one source of LTC information in the United States of America, John Thomas, senior vice president, or JT, of international projects and special projects of Amada in-home care, one of the greatest in-home care companies in the country, and Cassandra Watson, president and founder of Platinum Long-Term Care Insurance Solutions, and in the top 2% of long-term care insurance salespeople in the country, which, by the way, so is Mr. Matt McCann. So our panelists are experts in what they do. I am so happy to introduce you to Mr. Tom Hegna. Tom was a guest twice on the 62 Who Knew television show, and it was our second and third highest rated shows. One was 55,000 viewers, one was 58,000. Tom, you know the only thing that beat you was gray divorce. Divorce among people 62 and above. That was my largest show, 101,000 viewers. But let me give you a little background about Mr. Hegna. I'm not going to read his bio because it's so impressive and so much people are going to go, just let him talk already. Throughout the United States and Canada, Mr. Hegna's got a reputation of being the number one annuity person. He does not sell annuities. He's not here to sell you anything. His best-selling books in the New York Times bestsellers list, his speeches, his courses in the United States and Canada have opened up people's minds to a different way of retiring. And as I learned from him in those two shows, and I'm going to let him expound on this, there are two ways to retire. Your shows to me were just such a learning experience for me, Tom, that you can retire off assets. This is my favorite book of his. Or you can retire off guaranteed income. And if you don't have that book, excuse me, Tom, the name of that book again? I'm sorry.
A couple. Paychecks and Playchecks. That's
Paychecks and Playchecks.
Don't Worry, Retire Happy. That one played on PBS in 80 million homes in U.S. Yeah.
Yes, we were going to talk about that. Just opened up, I know, my eyes and the 62 Who Know viewers' eyes to so many different options for a quality of retirement. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast, Tom.
You bet. Great to be back.
All righty, cool. Talk to us about your TV special on public TV that was in 80 million homes. That's a big number.
Yeah, well, so my first book was Paychecks and Playchecks, and I was giving that talk down in San Diego about 10 years ago, and there was somebody there from PBS, and they said, Tom, we need to take this message out to the American people. They're getting the wrong message from all these other talking heads, but we're not sure they're going to understand this paycheck and playcheck thing. We would need a simpler title. So I wrote Don't Worry, Retire Happy, because I think everyone can understand that. And there's 7 simple steps to a happy and successful retirement. And all of this is based in math and science. This isn't my opinions. I'm not making this stuff up. This is the research of the leading PhDs around the world.
Go into that just a little more, because I read the book.
I'll just go through the 7 steps, and if you want to dig deeper, we can. Step number 1, you need to have a plan. How can you get anywhere if you don't have a roadmap or GPS or a plan of how to get there? And with that, I say you've got to work with a financial professional. Retirement is not a do-it-yourself project. Look, I know this stuff inside and out, and I work with several financial advisors because I don't follow every company, every product. They change their interest rates every 2 weeks. I need an advisor to help me do that. Step number 2, you need to understand and maximize your Social Security benefits. You know, Social Security is the largest retirement asset most people have, and yet they spend more time planning their summer vacation than learning how to get the most of those valuable dollars. Step number 3, consider a hybrid retirement. That's what I do. Instead of going to retirement cold turkey, I'm 70% retired. I play golf 4 to 5 days a week. I play pickleball 2 days a week, but I'm here with you today. Today is a work day, and I'm working almost all day. All right, so I still do some work, but my wife and I are leaving in a couple of weeks, going to Australia and Singapore and Thailand. We went on a Mediterranean cruise, Panama Canal cruise. So we've designed a lifestyle where we can be mostly retired, but I still do some of this. Step number 4, you can't just have income. You have to have increasing income to protect you from inflation. So you got to guard against inflation. Step number 5, retirement's all about income. It's not about assets. I don't care how many assets you have. That doesn't do anything for you. It's how much income you have every month and how you're managing risk. Step number 6, you must have a plan for long-term care. I'm sure some of the panelists would agree. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. Step 7, use your home equity wisely. For most people, their house is one of the largest assets they have. There are several ways you can use that equity while you're still in retirement. And then I wrap up with the most efficient way to pass wealth to children, grandchildren, and charities is with life insurance. I say, don't leave your kids any money. You're supposed to spend your money. Leave them life insurance because you can do that for pennies on the dollar. So if people would just follow those 7 simple steps based in math and science, they would never run out of money. They're not going to worry. They're going to have plenty of income in retirement. It's going to be increasing for the rest of their life. They're going to be protected against long-term care, protected against market crashes, protected against living too long, protected against high taxes, and they're going to have an enjoyable retirement like what I'm doing. I'm not just talking the talk. I'm walking the walk.
So, Tom, tell me, you mentioned Social Security, and that's the minds, whether you're 30 years old or beyond, especially today, whether Social Security is even going to be there. So believe it or not, and don't tell anyone, I'm going to turn 65 this year.
Wow.
Okay? And you talk about maximizing Social Security. What does that mean, and how does someone do that, and when do you start thinking about it?
Well, I think you should start thinking about it, in your late 50s, early 60s. You should start thinking about it. I think that's why you need to work with a financial professional. They have a Social Security calculator. They can plug in your numbers. They can show you what your paycheck would be if you take it early, what it would be if you delayed. I say in general, the breadwinner should delay. Now, why do I say in general? Because if you have severe health problems and your spouse has severe health problems, maybe you should take it early. If you have minor children in the house, you have to take your benefits to get those benefits. You might have to take it early. But most people, the breadwinner should delay. So if you have a husband and wife, let's say the husband made more money in his career, the wife can take hers early if she wants. So the lower earning spouse can claim early. I don't care about that. But the higher earning spouse should wait. Why? Because that check covers both lives. When he dies, which check does she get? She gets his. If he took his early, he locked her into a lower survivor benefit. Because that breadwinner check covers both lives, in general, the breadwinner should delay.
So even though that person, usually probably a male, not always, may have a lower life expectancy, you're saying no matter what, delay, delay, delay. Is that what I just heard you say?
The breadwinner should delay because that check covers both lives. So even let's say the husband made more money, he's in bad health, so he thinks he should take his early. I would say no. You want to have that 8% growth as long as you can for your spouse because she's going to have to deal with it. So it doesn't matter if one person's, in bad shape. The breadwinner should delay in most cases.
So Matt, I love that question, but I kind of went in a different direction. I liked the fact that you said, guaranteed income is like the most important thing. When we do long-term care planning, we talk about long-term care as a cash flow issue primarily. A lot of people want to look at it the same way on the reverse. They want to look at it as an asset problem, but it really is an income problem. It's a cash flow problem. So the question I have for you is similar to some of our backgrounds. The annuity industry has had some drama over the years. What's your take on it? Why do you think that people disliked annuities for a period of time? Do you come across that often? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I used to come across that. I don't think you're going to find anybody who's educated anymore who's going to be against annuities. That'd be impossible. You got every PhD in the world, Dr. David Babbitt, Dr. Moshe Milevsky, Dr. Menachem Yari, Dr. Wade Pfau, Dr. Michael Finke, Dr. Moshe Milevsky. You got Nobel Prize winners, Dr. William Sharp, Dr. Robert C. Merton. Every single one of them says annuities need to play a foundational role in a retirement portfolio. So all this hocus pocus on TV that annuities have high fees. Most annuities are not even fee products. A single premium immediate annuity is not a fee product. A deferred income annuity is not a fee product. A fixed annuity is not a fee product. A base fixed index annuity is not a fee product. Most RILAs, registered index-linked annuities, are not fee products. There's only 2 annuities that even have fees, variable annuities and some optional riders. Most annuities are spread products. And all that means is that if the insurance company guarantees you 5% a year for 6 years, if they don't earn more than that, they're going to lose money. There's no fee in the contract. And so I just think there was a lot of misunderstanding of what annuities are and then the different types. But I can't find anybody who's against income annuities because that'd be ridiculous. It'd be like saying I'm against Social Security, I'm against pensions because Social Security is a lifetime income annuity. Pensions are lifetime income annuities. People love their Social Security. They love their pensions. I'm here to tell you they love their annuities as well. I don't sell annuities, but I own 13 of them, all right? Because I know the power of those annuities.
So can we define what annuities are? I think, we obviously know, and I'm not sure that the general public, they've heard the term, they hear some negative press on it, they hear some positive press. You get some people who think of their pension as an annuity, and it's talked about in that way, but kind of define in simple language, what is an annuity and what are the major types of annuities that someone might come up with?
Yeah, I mean, the major types are you either have an immediate annuity that gives you income right away or within months, or now you can even do
Okay, so what does that mean? What?
guaranteed lifetime income. It will pay you a paycheck for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. They cured cancer, diabetes, heart disease, doesn't matter. You live to be 160, those checks are coming. All right. And those are the kind of annuities that you need for retirement. But then there are deferred annuities. Those are annuities that you put it in and it grows. And while it grows tax deferred. You can put it in a family of mutual funds. They're called separate accounts. That'd be a variable annuity. You can put it in an account where you get some of the upside of the market, but you get no downside risk. That'd be a fixed index annuity. You can put one in that guarantees you 5% a year for 5 years. That's a fixed annuity. So you can either use it for growth or income, but the kind I write about and speak about are the income annuities that need to be a foundational part of a retirement portfolio. The research shows you should have somewhere between 20 and 40% of your portfolio in an income annuity. 20 to 40%. I'll be closer to the 40%. If you have a lot of Social Security, if you have a lot of pension, maybe you're closer to the 20% or 10%. If you have a lot of income, maybe you don't need one. But most people do.
Okay, so you're writing a check. How big a check? I mean, what does that look like? Am I writing a check for?
It's different for everyone. The average annuity size is right around $100,000. Okay, but I mean, I've seen them $10 million. I've seen $25,000. Some companies have minimums of $5,000 or $10,000 or $25,000 or $50,000. But normally, it's going to be between $50,000 and $1 million. It's going to be probably 90%.
One time, or do you pay every year? Can you pay every year?
Well, I mean, if you're trying to grow your annuity, there's what's called flexible premium, which allows you to add money. But if it's an income annuity, most income annuities, you buy that block, you put in $100,000, it guarantees you $800 a month for the rest of your life or whatever the number is. And I own 13 of those type where I can turn them into income. They're either set to turn on when I'm 62 or 65 or 70, or they're flexible where I can turn it on whenever I want. I can turn them on or off whenever I want.
Tom, would you think it's good advice to people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that, which is mass America, that has no shot of writing a six-figure check right now in today's economy? But would it be advisable for them while their children are young to do one of the flexible ones and maybe put $10,000 a year in it for the next 20 years? So now when they're in their 50s, they have a few $100,000 there?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would say. In your 20s, yeah, probably a little early for annuity, even 30s, unless you say this is my retirement money, because got to remember, annuities you really want to use for money after 59 and a half. There are ways to get it out prior to 59 and a half, but that gets too complicated for this show. But it's retirement money. So I'd say most people look at annuities in their 40s, 50s, 60s. You can do it in your 20s and 30s, but for those people, I'd lean them more towards mutual funds because they still have to buy a house. They want to get married. There's stuff that happens. I wouldn't lock up a bunch of my money in my 20s and 30s. And that's the same advice I gave to my daughter. She's 23.
No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So obviously on 62 Who Knew, and you can find us at 62whoknew.com, we talk about a lot of stuff as people prepare for aging or already in those 62 or even beyond. And some of the people obviously have health issues. Long-term care insurance is not an option. May call Amada or another home health care agency looking for ways to fund home care. And they have an annuity. When can you annuitize an annuity if you don't have a instant income one? And can you use that income for anything? What's the tax implications? And if you use it for like home care, does that impact the tax benefits?
Well, okay. So, annuities have a special rule when it comes to long-term care. that if the annuity is used for long-term care, any of the deferred taxes that are owed, that money can go to pay for long-term care without you being taxed. So that's a huge benefit if somebody already has an annuity and it's grown quite a bit and they don't know what to do with it and they need long-term care. But also remember, there are annuities you can buy that will give you long-term care coverage, and you normally don't have to qualify medically for the annuities and the long-term care. In fact, there's one called the bridge annuity that's a guaranteed issue product. So a person could be in a nursing home and still be able to get it. So there are options that even if people have medical problems, that they can get some help in that long-term care arena. But that's why it's so important they talk to somebody like you that really knows long-term care inside and out.
At that note, you're at 62 Who Knew the podcast, and I want to tell you a little, since we just led into annuities with long-term care, which we're going to come right back to. That was the biggest thing on my list right now, because there is nothing more important than long-term care in today's environment for so many reasons. But Cassandra, I want you to ask your question that you were going to do 2 minutes ago, but I want to delve back into, because when you said there are annuities that are tied to long-term care and people can be in a nursing home and still get it, even Matt went, I want to talk about that more, because when you surprise Matt, that's big. That's big on the show.
Sure, that's big.
Big
Huge.
But go ahead, Cassandra, then we'll go back to it.
Yeah, my question was just about, so you're saying there's a unique feature of annuities that allows the growth to be used for home care tax-free. Is that a PPA compliant annuity, or is that just a feature of all annuities? And then the corollary to that is that because medical expenses are so high that they can just deduct whatever they used, so it kind of washes it out? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I think what the government's trying to do is they know the government has a big problem, because all these old people, when they run out of money, they're going to go on the government. And so they're giving people ways to use their own money to cover their own health care. And so, annuities have this thing where you can use that tax deferred buildup towards your long-term care. As far as what I said about some annuities, there are annuities that have doubler or tripler. So like if you're normally getting $1,000 a month, if you need long-term care, that could double to $2,000 or $3,000 a month for a certain period of time, and then it would come back once the benefit is over. But that one annuity I was talking about, the bridge annuity, that is a guaranteed issue. And what they do is they have several levels that they will issue the annuity. And you kind of like either preferred, standard, or, rated, kind of something like that. And the better health you are, the more benefits that you get. But they have a guaranteed issue that even if you need help right now, there is a little bit of leverage that you get from the insurance company's money as well. So, the key is, I think, get your long-term care in your 40s, 30s, and 40s. Get a policy. It's cheap. You're healthy. You'll be approved. I always tell financial advisors this: if they call you asking for long-term care, it's going to be declined. If you call them, it's likely going to be approved. Because who calls for long-term care? Somebody who can't remember where they put their keys. Their kids say, man, Mom, you're putting the wrong stuff in the refrigerator. You need to go get some long-term care insurance. Well, it's too late by then.
So for a lot of our listeners, they came to the show because mom and dad is older, and maybe they're declining, maybe they may need or are in care right now. So let's kind of talk about the family crisis.
Yeah.
And let me first direct this to John, and Tom, you can kind of follow up on that. In your experience, John, with home care agencies and home health care, are they using assets like annuities? And do you even advise families in that situation? What are the savings there, and how can you pay for quality home health care for mom or dad?
It's a great question, Matt. Yeah, and we do. We sit with families in a moment of crisis, and there really are two big questions. The two big questions initially are what kind of care needs are present, right? What does mom need? How much assistance? What kind of activity of daily living does she need assistance with? Right, and so there's a care planning process that takes place. And then the second question is, how do we pay for it? Right. And it is often income that is used to pay for care if there's not long-term care insurance. Right. that's going to be the first go-to is, hey, do you have long-term care insurance? It's the best way to pay for care. It's not coming out of your pocket. It's coming out of the insurance company's money, right? And so that's the best way to pay for care. And then alternatively, what other assets or resources do you have to pay for care? Income from an annuity is fantastic. It's built in, it's consistent. You know what you have to work with. But we're often in a position where, that family only has their pension, right? Or they only have their savings in the bank account, or they're forced to liquidate their investments. And if we're talking about, where we're at in the market today, they're likely liquidating investments at a poor time in the market when those investments are down. And so that's not an ideal scenario. And so I think pertinent to this conversation, I'm sure, Tom, you have some thoughts on it, but if you have an income from an annuity that's going to be consistent, that you can draw on, and you're not forced to liquidate investments at a poor time in the market, that's ideal, and certainly an annuity that maybe gives you some leverage, 2 or 3 times your dollar with a long-term care benefit.
So, Tom, let me ask you a specific situation. You got mom or dad, they're declining, and they can't buy long-term care insurance. They've got some savings. Maybe they have an annuity. Don't know what kind of annuity. If you're talking to those people, is there perhaps a way to take an annuity that might be better allocated to another annuity, which then can produce income? What kind of things should people be thinking about in that kind of scenario?
Well, I think everybody should be reviewing their annuities every time that the surrender charges are up, because, as you age, your situation may change. Plus, as you know, they come out with new products all the time. So maybe when you bought that last annuity, they didn't have a long-term care benefit. Maybe that could be 1035 exchange to an annuity that does have a long-term care benefit.
What's a 1035 exchange?
It's a tax-free exchange. You're just moving from this annuity to that annuity. As long as it's in your best interest, and you want to look, do surrender charges start again? Are there fees to do it? You want to look at all that. But there are many cases where you can do an audit. They call it an annuity audit, where they audit this current annuity and they compare it with the annuities that are available. And I'll bet 80, 90% there are better options right now. And so I would encourage people to do that all the time, whether you need long-term care or not. But you may be able to get into one of those annuities that could double or triple the income if you need long-term care. So I would, and again, that's why you need to work with a financial professional, because how is a person who, is a plumber, electrician, or even me, and I'm in this business, how can I figure all that out by myself? I can't. I need somebody who knows, what the products are. What does this annuity pay? What about that company? It's like, I'm going to go on Medicare in a couple of years. I don't know how Medicare works. I'm going to have to call a Medicare specialist and have them. And I got TRICARE for life with the Army. So how does TRICARE and Medicare work? I need somebody that can put all that together. Even though I know most of this stuff, I can't do the eaches, and I don't know how a plumber in, Chicago can try to retire on their own. I think that's a big mistake.
Hey, Tom, I think this might be pertinent to this point of the conversation, thinking of 1035 exchanges, moving from one annuity to another. We're in a time of higher inflation, right? This higher inflationary period, right? And that's affecting people in a number of different ways. Are you thinking about annuity planning and income planning differently right now in terms of how you're advising folks because of the inflationary period?
Because of inflation, the interest rates are higher. And so these are the highest payout rates I've seen in a decade. I mean, you can get 12, 15% guaranteed for the rest of your life, depending on your age. If you're in your 70s and 80s.
So it's locked in?
Yeah, locked in for the rest of your life. And I mean, So you can lock in these higher rates. People say, buy a bond, you lock it in for 5 years or 10 years. No, buy an annuity, lock it in for the rest of your life.
That's great. So you're saying today is probably a good time to reevaluate what you got.
It's a great time to. I mean, these are some of the highest payout rates I've seen in over a decade, so maybe 2 decades.
When I listen to you talk, Tom, not just on the last 2 shows, not just today, not when I read the book, is what's different about you and why I was so excited to have you here. Everything you talk about is based on math and science. I have had national experts on my TV show with tens and tens of thousands of followers. And at the end of the day, they're selling something. You do not sell annuities. In fact, I called you 9 months ago because my best friend in life wanted to buy $1 million in annuities. I said, Tom Hegna is the best in the world. Call him. And you went, Mike, I don't sell annuities. you're the perfect guest because you're using math and science. You're not going, well, come to my website and I'll sell you an annuity.
Right. I don't sell any financial products whatsoever.
And I think that lends a certain amount of credibility that other respectful experts don't have. Your math and science. And of course, there's emotion. You're an incredibly emotional speaker.
Because I've seen what happens to people when they aren't prepared, when they don't have it. I see the tragedy when they don't have a plan for long-term care. I see the tragedy when they run out of money because somebody told them an annuity was bad and they bought into it. I see the tragedy when people put all their money in the stock market and it goes down 40% and stays down for 10 years. That's what I don't want to see. I want people to be fully diversified, to take risks off the table, have increasing income guaranteed for the rest of their life. That's what the research shows you should have.
One of the life-changing chapters of your first book that just got to me was, somebody wants to have, when I was younger, I want to have this many millions in the bank and it'll be in the market and I'll get 8% or 12%. And you actually have statistics from medical authorities that the people that live off, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't read the book in 2 years, people living off assets, suddenly the market goes down, their return on their investment goes down, they can't live quite the lifestyle they used to. They're not getting a $30,000 check a month, they're getting 18. They actually have more heart attacks, more strokes than the person that has the guaranteed annuity. And no matter what rates are doing, that check is coming in and they're still taking cruises and they're still buying presents for their grandchildren. That chapter floored me, that there is medical data that people that live off the market, multimillionaires, that when the market goes down, they have more strokes and heart attacks.
Yeah. So
I don't think any book has ever approached that.
I don't want to give you PTSD from the great divorce that overtook you last time, but don't they also say that finances are like one of the number one reasons for divorce? So that doesn't surprise me, Mike. People get stressed.
Cassandra, the number one reason for divorce? Marriage. Okay, that's why I'm it's just the real answer. I mean, I just nailed that one. Let's face it.
Look,
go ahead, Tom.
I say there's 3 reasons why you want to put an annuity in your portfolio in retirement. Number 1, it will improve portfolio performance. I can document that. BlackRock, who sells no annuities, they say that you're going to do so much better and reduce downside risk if you add guaranteed lifetime income. Ernst & Young, an accounting firm, they said that the optimal retirement portfolio was 30% cash value life insurance, 30% income annuity, 40% investment. So I'm not making this stuff up. It'll improve your portfolio performance. Number 2, the research shows you're likely to be happier. The Wall Street Journal had the headline, "The secret to a happier retirement is friends, neighbors, and a fixed annuity." Time Magazine found the same thing in Great Britain. Lifetime income stream, key to retirement happiness. And then the third reason is because people who have guaranteed income live longer. There's a Freakonomics podcast that research shows that people who buy annuities live longer than people who don't. There was an article in the Journal for Financial Service Professionals written by attorney Patrick Tricker, that said that on average, a 65-year-old male who purchases a life annuity will live 20% longer than a 65-year-old male who does not. And the whole article explained why people who have guaranteed income live longer. They don't have as much stress. They don't worry. Yeah. And because they're being paid to live, guess what? Many of them choose to live differently. They watch what they eat. They exercise. They go see the doctor. And all these little things cause them to tend to live longer. So if you could put something in your portfolio that will improve portfolio performance, allow you to be happier, and allow you to live longer, how can anybody say that that's bad?
Okay, you just read my mind here, Tom. I know we're ready for a commercial here in a moment, but if anyone watching TV or they go on the internet, there's a number of major financial firms that their primary ad campaign is anti-annuity. The question is, why do they think that? And what's the flip side of that coin? Because there's a couple of them. I'm not going to name them on this show, but a lot of people. Well,
I will.
Anyone watching TV says,
I don't know.
Okay, well, you can. Yeah. You're answering the question. Yeah. So, what are they talking about?
I wrote an article. You can Google it right now and read it. Why Ken Fisher really loves annuities, and you should too. Okay. So I'll tell you the crux of that article. And by the way, if anybody thinks Ken Fisher's so great, just type Ken Fisher, scandals. I don't think you'll do business with them. Ken Fisher, scandals. But here's the deal. When the dirty little secret is Ken Fisher has high fees. So he couldn't go and attack Vanguard, and he couldn't attack Fidelity because they got lower fees than him. So what did he do? He picked out variable annuities because variable annuities do have higher fees than him. But variable annuities offer guarantees against stock market loss that he doesn't. And so he's kind of doing this bait and switch thing where he says, oh, those have nosebleed level fees, so move to us. Well, he's got high fees too, but he doesn't have the guarantees. And the other thing is, his number one holding for many years was American Equity. American Equity only does one thing. They sell annuities. So it's a little disingenuous for him to say, oh, he hates annuities when his number one holding was an annuity company. And the only reason he picked on variable annuities was because he has high fees too. You know, he's not a low-fee producer. If he's so great, why doesn't he talk Fidelity or Vanguard? He can't. They have lower fees than he does.
And on
I
that
guess
note,
Ken Fisher won't be an advertiser. Okay.
I guess I'm not inviting Ken on the. Actually, I think I would, and then bring Tom back, and then let's just go viral.
Yeah, I'll put my PhD research against his. He can't find one PhD that'll back him up. I can find 100.
I wrote it down.
Well, Tom, I'm intrigued. I think you said you have 13 annuities. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes. Well, so, without getting into too much detail, I'm sure you have your own strategy around layering and buying a group of annuities or layering and buying them over time. Why do you have 13? Why do you have multiple?
Well,
and what's the strategy?
Because, every time I'd save up like 100 or 150,000, I'd buy another one. Then I save up 100, then buy another one. And, and I've got some that start at age 62, some that start at age 65, some that start at age 70. Most of them start whenever I want. I can start them all today, tomorrow, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 years. And so that gives me flexibility. But what it also does is it guarantees I'm going to have increasing income for the rest of my life, which is a key part of retirement. There's two things you want to have. You want to have increasing income for the rest of your life, and then it's about risk management. What happens if the market goes down? What happens if taxes go up? What happens if inflation stays high? What happens if you need long-term care? What happens if you die? You got to handle all those. And as long as you got a plan to handle all those and you got increasing income, then you're off to the races and you're off traveling and having fun. That's what I'm doing.
So say you annuitize one, getting like a couple $1,000s a month, and you're like, oh shoot, I want to actually, I put $200K in there and I've just gotten my 8th check. Right? What if I change my mind? I want more. Is it too late?
Yeah, there are some annuities that, if that's a concern of yours, you'd want an annuity that had flexibility, one that you could stop, start, lower. Now, those are out there. They're probably not going to pay as much as somebody who says, just flip that baby on and give it to me. And so there, you can get whatever you want, but there's a cost for getting what you want. And I've never found a retiree that says, you know what, I'm just getting too much income. Can we just cut this down? Can we just stop sending me?
I don't really need
I haven't seen that, but I mean, it's possible. But
just to simplify it, when you turn it on, it's on.
Well, if you annuitize, if you're just making withdrawals, you can just make withdrawals. Don't make a withdrawal, make another one. There are annuities that are flexible that way. But when you annuitize it and send that check, it's coming. All right. Now, there are ways. Some annuity companies allow you to take out a lump sum if you have an emergency, and then they'll adjust your payment downward. But those are kind of on the fringes. Most annuities, once you annuitize, that check's coming. It's not going to stop. Nothing's going to stop it unless you die. That's it.
This is a good thing.
Yeah.
What happens as a neophyte? You put 200,000 in. You start at 62 or 65. You're getting an incredible interest rate, and you die early. You've annuitized, you got 50,000 of your 200,000. That other 150 goes to heirs. That other 150 could stay and keep growing for heirs. Is this similar to life insurance?
Those are the decisions you need to make before you get the annuity. When you buy the annuity, those are the things that you're going to set up. And I can give you a lot of different reasons. So some of mine are joint life with me and my wife. So that means as long as either one of us is alive, that check is coming. When we're both gone, it ends. But even some of those, I have joint life with cash refund, which just means if I put in 100,000 and it pays us 50,000, we're both killed in a car accident, our kids will get the other 50,000. So you can say how you want things to work. I've had grandpas do joint life with their 5-year-old granddaughter. Grandpa gets it for the rest of his life. he names grandma as a successor owner. When grandpa dies, grandma gets it for the rest of her life. She names her son as a successor owner. When she dies, he gets a check for the rest of his life. And then when he dies, the granddaughter gets a check for the rest of her life. We can do that with one annuity. You know, it's crazy what you can do.
That's amazing.
So those are the thoughtful things you want to bring up when you're in the annuity purchasing, because you've got to determine that ahead of time. You can't buy one that say, oh, wait a minute, I want that. No, you do that when you buy the annuity. One more thing. I was just going to throw this in. My latest book is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Now, this is not for 62 who knew people. This is for their kids, okay? But I know a lot of you think that your kids are doing dumb things with their money. They're spending too much on cars. They're not saving it up. Instead of nagging them, get them this book, Tom Hegna, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I show them how simple it is to become a millionaire in America today. And
how do you get the book, Tom? How do you get the book?
Amazon or TomHegna.com, but it's Tom Hegna, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But I'll just give you an example. My latest slide, and I give this presentation, is turn your car payment into $1 million. Because the number one reason most Americans aren't millionaires, I said there's two things. Number one, they spend way too much money on their cars. And number two, they get divorced. So the moral of the story, drive a used car and stick with your first spouse. But my favorite slide is turn your car payment into $1 million. And what I show people is a $250,000, $500,000, and $1,000 a month car payment. And if instead of paying that in the car payment, remember, you're paying interest on a depreciating asset, that's not very smart, all right? If you turn it into and get 7% on your money, that $250,000 is going to be worth $1.36 million at some point. The $500 one is going to be worth like $2.7 million, and the $1,000 car payment is going to be worth $5.4 million. Now, I know couples where both the husband and the wife have $1,000 a month car payments. Honestly,
I write mortgages for those type of people.
They know they're driving their $10.8 million retirement down the road? It's stupid. We've got to get young people to put their money into appreciating assets. Instead, they're putting them into cars and boats and RVs and jet skis and shoes and handbags and clothes and computers and iPhones. Every one of those is a depreciating asset. And if the majority of your money is going into things that are going down every day, you're never going to become wealthy. You want to put it into things that go up in value.
So the fact that I got a 75 Chevy Nova is a good thing. I'm still driving that thing, right? Oh, okay.
It's
all
a
right.
good thing.
Is there a slide in your presentation when your wife leaves you and takes your Corvette?
No, but
is there anything about that? Because
I've been married 42 years to the same woman, but I got friends who've been divorced. I got one that's divorced 3 times, and he was a millionaire, and now he's trying to live in Guatemala because he doesn't have any money. So I mean, it's really scary.
it is scary.
I was with you until the handbag comment. Have you looked at Chanel recently?
Chanel is rough.
And what's worse is they're financing it. They're putting on their credit cards, or they're paying interest on car loans. I just want to pull out my hair. That's why they're not becoming rich.
Well, when I write mortgages, and you're so right about this, I consistently write mortgages for people. Husband and wife have car payments between $500 and $1,000 each. And even though I like nice cars, that's just absurd for $1,500 to $2,000 a month to be going towards a depreciating asset. It's just, the world is out of whack.
Yeah.
Let's
but
face
nobody's teaching kids this. Nobody's telling them this. Who's showing them that their car payment should be $1 million? Nobody showed them that. If they knew that, I'll bet a lot of them would make different choices with their car picks.
Mm-hmm. One thing also, Matt, you said, where can we get Tom's book? We have been updating the 62 Who Knew website almost every week in the last 8 weeks. And 2 things are going to be happening to the website probably before this episode views. So it'll probably be present time at that point. Number 1, we are going to have a library of books that 62 Who Knew recommends for people. And I just say it flat out. I'm not going to be calling Tom Hegna and go, can we make $2 a book on everything we sell? That's not what it's there for. It's going to be that our panelists, our experts, myself, say this is right for the 62 Who Knew audience, and that's why those books are going to be there. So we're excited to be building a library on the website. I also want to announce now another family member coming on to 62whoknew.com is RE/MAX, the #1 real estate company on the planet.
Congratulations.
And we will thank you. This was a biggie for our little operation here. And in the very foreseeable future, it will not be in the next week or two. It'll be in the next 4 to 6 weeks. As you can go to our website, you will be able to click on the red and white balloon on our website, whether you are buying or selling a home anywhere in the United States or Canada, and you'll be able to access an expert like that in the United States and Canada through our website within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And we're so proud to have Remax as a member of the 62 Who Knew family. And yes, you are here with 62 Who Knew, the podcast that wants the last 30 years of your life to be the best 30 years of your life. As always, I was fortunate enough to be here with 3 people today who the only thing bigger than your brain is your heart. And I think that's why 62 Who Knew is growing as it does. Tom, hope I'll have you back one day. You're just a breath of fresh air in the retirement world. For people that haven't seen you speak in person, which I've been fortunate enough to do, it's a great experience. So thank you for being here.
Hey, I do want to say, Tom, thank you. I admire your work, and I appreciate, the love I've received at the end of the call here today. But Tom, I've watched you from afar, so great to share this panel with you and admire the work that you've done. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Few of you,
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Yes,
a
likewise.
few of you smiled at me last week on regular calls when I went, ooh, we have Tom Hegna coming on. You don't understand. And you're like, yeah, I'm sure he's a great guy. Now you get it. Now, listen to the host. Now you get it. And don't freaking edit this out. Don't edit this out. All righty. Thank you all.
Thanks.